All right, so you've built and deployed your machine learning model. You're getting results, but what happens next? Today, we're going to dig into that critical step that turns a cool piece of tech into a system your business can actually bet on. We're talking ML governance and compliance.
So let's start with a familiar feeling. You've done the really hard work, right? You've wrestled with the data, you've trained the algorithms, and you finally created a model that makes some pretty incredible predictions. And honestly, that is a huge win.
And then you did it. You pushed it into the real world. It's live, it's out there, it's making decisions in a production environment. For a lot of teams, that feels like the finish line. Mission accomplished.
But here's the question that should keep you up at night. Just because it's working, can you actually trust it? And, maybe even more importantly, could you prove to someone, an auditor, a regulator, your boss, that it's trustworthy? And that question gets us right to the heart of AI's big post-deployment problem. You see, especially in high-stakes industries, getting a model into production isn't the end of the journey. Oh no, it's really just the beginning of a whole new set of challenges.
I mean, look at this list. We're talking about things that are not just nice-to-haves. In sectors like finance or healthcare, every single one of these is an absolute, non-negotiable requirement. You have to be able to trace every prediction back to its source, you have to be able to pass any audit, and you have to prove your model is being used ethically and securely.
This really says it all, doesn't it? Without a solid framework to manage all those requirements, your amazing AI is basically a liability. It's a black box just creating risk for the business. But with governance, it transforms into a transparent, trusted asset that is actually ready for the enterprise. So, how do we get there? How do we bring some order to all this potential chaos? Well, the answer is a governance framework. It's all about building a structured, solid foundation for your AI systems to stand on.
So what exactly is ML model governance? At its core, it's the whole shebang. It's the rules, the tools, the exact workflows that you put in place to make sure your models are behaving exactly as they're supposed to. Think of it like building a safety net of control and oversight around every single one of your AI assets.
And if we break that down, it really rests on these core principles. Transparency? That means you can actually explain why a model made a certain decision. Accountability? That means someone, a real person, is responsible for it. And auditable? This one is huge. It means every single action, from retraining a model to deploying a new version, is logged and can be reviewed later. It's all about leaving a clear paper trail for everything your model does.
Now, I know this might sound like a lot of extra work, but trust me, the alternative is way more costly. So let's take a minute to look at the very real, very tangible risks of running AI without a proper governance structure in place. And here's the crucial part. Each of these gaps in governance maps directly to a serious business risk. I mean, if your model is making biased decisions, you're not just looking at some bad PR. You are looking at actual discrimination lawsuits. If you don't have an audit trail, guess what? You will fail compliance checks, period. And if your model's performance quietly degrades over time, that's model drift, you're making critical business decisions based on faulty, inaccurate predictions.
And this isn't just about managing internal risk anymore. We're talking about the law. Big regulations like GDPR in Europe explicitly give people the right to an explanation for automated decisions. And the upcoming EU AI Act, it's going to mandate comprehensive documentation and governance for any system deemed high risk. So yeah, compliance is no longer optional.
Okay, so we've definitely established the why. Now let's get practical and start looking at the how. Think of this next part as your blueprint for building a system that is safe, compliant, and trustworthy, right from the ground up.
A properly governed workflow builds in these checks and balances at every single stage. And notice, this isn't a one-and-done thing. Before a model even dreams of going to production, it's got to be tested for bias and registered. Then, and this is so important, it needs a human sign-off from both the business folks and the compliance team. And even after it's deployed, it's being watched constantly, with automatic triggers ready to retrain or even roll it back if problems pop up.
Right at the center of this whole process is the model registry. You should really think of it as the single source of truth for every single model in your organization. It's where you track versions, manage approvals, and store all the metadata you'd ever need for a full audit trail. Honestly, it is the linchpin of your entire governance strategy.
And for every model you have in that registry, you need this kind of documentation. This is completely non-negotiable when it comes to audits. A model card clearly states what the model is for and what its limits are.
A data sheet tells you exactly where the training data came from, and a fairness report proves that you've actually tested for bias. Without this stuff, you are flying completely blind when a regulator comes knocking on your door.
So let's boil this all down into a really simple cheat sheet. The risky habit is having no version control. The best practice is using a model registry. The common mistake is deploying manually from someone's laptop. The best practice is using an automated, controlled deployment process like GitOps. This is the fundamental shift from an ad hoc, kind of risky approach to a disciplined, professional one. Ultimately, this whole process is about elevating your work. It's about moving past just building cool, standalone models and, instead, architecting trusted, resilient AI systems that your entire business can actually stand behind and rely on.
You know, this quote just captures the final takeaway perfectly. Anybody can build a model. It's a piece of code. What businesses really need are systems, responsible, auditable assets that are fully woven into their operations. That right there is the end goal. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about for your own projects. Are you just building isolated models, or are you building systems that your colleagues, your customers, and yeah, even your regulators can truly, genuinely trust? Thanks for joining me.